You're wrapped in scratchy wool. It's minus 20 degrees Celsius, and the icy wind cuts through your bones. The fire died hours ago. Your boots are frozen. It's only midnight in a Viking winter camp. Could you survive until morning? Welcome to Boring History for Sleep, where the past is cold, harsh, and oddly soothing. Tap subscribe smart info if you're ready to drift off to the chill of the old world. One cold breath at a time. Do you think you could survive a Viking winter? Let me know in the comments. Soft, ambient wind, the gentle creak of a long ship's hull, the soft slap of oars against the gunwale. Welcome aboard. Wherever you are, however your day has been, you're invited now to settle in, slow your breathing, and let your thoughts drift to a time far removed from your own. Tonight, we're going to travel back to the frigid, fog-veiled northlands of the Viking world. But not the Viking world of raids and roaring battles, not the sagas of gods and warriors sung by firelight, though there will be echoes of those. This journey will take you deeper and quieter into the slower rhythms, the harsher textures, and the overlooked lives that shape the Norse people. This is a story not of conquest, but of survival. Not of gods, but of frost. Not of heroes, but of hands. Cold, calloused, and persistent. The year is 860 AD. Winter has a strong grip on the frozen coast. A thin layer of ice covers the surface of the fjord, hiding the churning water below. A stiff breeze cuts across the barren moor, whipping strands of a raven's feather across your face. From your vantage point on the shore, you can just make out the dark shape of a Viking longship. Its hull pulled up onto the beach like the skeleton of some great sea creature. It's here for the season, sheltering its crew from the worst of the winter. You watch as the men unload packs of cured meats, fish, furs, and grain, then carry them down into the safety of the longhouse. The scent of wood smoke curls lazily into the air, a thin veil against the encroaching cold. Soon the only sounds are the sigh of the wind and the crunch of boots on packed snow. And as the last sliver of sun dips below the jagged teeth of the mountains, the long night begins. As the full weight of winter settles over the land, days are short, the sun a pale ghost behind the gray clouds. Storms lash the coast, rattling the walls of the longhouse with their fury. But inside, life continues.
By the light of a dozen oil lamps, men, women, and children eat, drink, and talk.
They tell stories of daring adventures or reminisce about summers past. Then, as the wind outside begins to rise, a hush falls over the room. Someone begins to sing, their voice weaving tales of love and loss, hope and hardship. The song ends, and the storyteller begins his tale. Around you, the faces of the crowd are illuminated, their features softened by the lamplight, their expressions a mixture of awe and excitement. And as the night wears on, you feel a sense of community, of shared experience, of human resilience in the face of nature's indifference. Because even as the darkness outside grows deeper, the bonds that unite these people are stronger than any storm. But as the long night continues, the voices grow quieter, the laughter more subdued, the shadows deeper. And you can't help but feel the pull of the darkness, the icy fingers of sleep creeping up on you. So you settle back, letting the rhythm of the night lull you into a peaceful slumber. And in your dreams, you sail away with the Vikings to new lands, new adventures, and the promise of a new dawn. This is a historical fiction podcast. Distant wind whistling, occasional crackle of firewood, muffled footfalls on hard snow. Imagine yourself here. The year is somewhere in the early 10th century. You are not a warrior, at least. Not tonight. You are cold. You are exhausted. And you are somewhere deep in the northern wilderness. Your people have stopped their sea voyage to winter inland in a crude encampment surrounded by forest and ice. There are no warm hearths, no wool-lined boots. Your clothes are stitched from coarse, lanolin heavy wool and lined with rough fur, but they still feel thin against the night wind. Beneath them, your skin is raw from snow melt that froze and thawed and froze again. Your breath comes out in small clouds, and every movement brings the crackle of stiffened fabric. The cold here is not just air its weight, pressing persistent thing that settles into your joints and stays there. It wakes you in the night, makes your bones ache like you've aged decades and days. There are perhaps 20 people in this camp, men and women, some children. Huddled beneath liantus of hide and pine, their faces shadowed, their fingers busy with quiet tasks, scraping ice from boots, tightening bindings, gnawing on frozen roots. No one speaks unless necessary. Words waste warmth. Food is stored beneath frozen earth, sealed in animal bladders and bark-wrapped bundles. The fare is simple dried fish, barley cakes, maybe some preserved meat if you're fortunate. You chew slowly, not out of enjoyment, but because the cold makes everything brittle. A cracked tooth out here is more than pennant, is a problem with no solution. You tend the fire, but even flame seems reluctant in this place. The wood is wet, or scarce, or both. Smoke curls low and heavy. It stings your eyes, but you welcome it. It means you're still breathing. The fire is both protector and deceiver. It promises warmth, but only in inches. Step too far, and the dark takes you again. At night, the wolves circle. You hear them long before you see them, low guttural howls that slide across the frozen ground like echoes from another world. You press closer to your companions. You grip your seeks, its blade dull from weeks of use and no whetstone. It won't help much, but it gives your hand something to hold. Sleep comes in fits. You lie beside a wall of pine boughs, pressed against another body for warmth, and close your eyes. The wind finds every seam in your shelter. You listen to the branches creak above you, to the heavy breathing of those near you, to the distant groaning of the ice. You think of spring, meadows and open skies and boats gliding across calm fjords. But spring is far away. For now, there is only winter, and the long, slow endurance of it. The great thing about playing games is getting to experience things you normally couldn't, like being an ancient Roman emperor with a taste for chariot racing, or a French peasant whose idea of excitement is watching paint dry. There's not a lot of crossover there. But for me, one of the greatest joys of playing games is experiencing worlds that feel alien. Games can transport you to places you normally wouldn't go, like other planets, parallel universes, even other times. And there's a special feeling that comes from exploring these strange new realms, especially when they're rendered with detail and care. And if that sounds like something you enjoy too, then let me tell you about a game that lets you explore worlds beyond our own. Faint lapping of waves, distant seabirds, quiet wooden creak of a ship's hull. The wind is calmer now. The frost is behind us, though the sea ahead remains cold. You are aboard a Norse snare, a wide-bellied ship designed not for war, but for travel. The sky above you is a pale, washed blue. The ocean beneath is dark and endless, moving with a slow and steady rhythm. The sail flutters gently, and the men on board murmur few words. They are thinking, as you are, of where they are going and what they might find. Leif Erikson stands not far from you. Tall, silent, observant, not yet a legend. It's just a man shaped by the vastness around him. He is the son of Eric the Red, banished from Norway for violent disputes. Eric fled westward and founded Greenland, carving a small life from ice and solitude. Leif grew up there, where the sun was thin and the earth harder still, a place that taught resilience and a kind of quiet patience. Unlike his father, Leif had a contemplative nature. He listened, he observed, and he believed that beyond Greenland there was something more. Not just sea and storm, but land, rich, green land. According to the sagas, the knowledge of this place came to Leif not through bold exploration, but through a whisperer rumor. A merchant Biodny had glimpsed unfamiliar shores when driven off course, but he never landed. Leif took that tale and made it real. And so he set sail. Some say 35, others say more. They brought food, tools, and timber. They followed no maps, so only stars and instinct. The voyage was long, but not frantic. There was no enemy, no race, just direction, just hope. Their journey led them first to a rocky coast, likely what we now know as Baffin Island. Cold and barren, with little to offer, they sailed south. Next came a flat land with forest and stone, Labrador perhaps, but it was still harsh, unwelcoming. So they moved on. Finally, they came to a place unlike the others. Milder air, tall grasses, streams that bubbled instead of groaned, vines, trees, game, and salmons. So many salmon Leif would later recall that you could nearly catch them with your hands. They named it Vinland. It's the land of wine or vines, depending on translation. Either way, it was a name born from surprise, born from contrast. After the gray of Greenland, this place felt like a dream. Leif and his men built shelters there. Some believe they stayed through the winter, but the details are clouded, softened by time. What we do know is that Leif returned to Greenland. He spoke of what he had found, but did not go back. Others did, small expeditions, fleeting settlements. One site at Lonso Meadows in modern-day Newfoundland still whispers evidence of Norse timberwork and tools. But it didn't last. Vinland, though fertile, was far. And Greenland, harsh as it was home. Over time, the Atlantic crossing grew quiet again. Leif never claimed greatness for what he had done. There were no parades, no lasting colonies, just the quiet knowledge that he had gone a little farther than most. He died in Greenland, likely in his early 50s. A farmer, a father, a footnote for centuries, until much later, when new eyes looked westward and found in his story something stirring. He was not the first to dream of distant shores, nor the last, but he was the first to touch them, turn back with stories the ice could not erase. Today we're going to pretend that we are transported back in time to the 9th century. We are standing outside a Viking longhouse, the biggest building in the settlement, perhaps even for miles around. The longhouse is not just a house, it is the heart of Viking social life. And we are about to enter the greatest of these halls, the chieftain's hall. Crackling hearth fire, muffled laughter, the distant clink of drinking horns. Now the air is warmer. Dap into a longhouse. The building stretches like a great wooden spine across the landscape. Its walls are thick with turf and timber, sheltering those inside from wind, snow, and time itself. Inside, light flickers from torches set into carved beams. The smoke from the central hearth curls lazily towards the rafters, where it seeps out through small openings in the roof. The air is heavy with the scent of smoke, cured meat, and damp wool. But after the frozen bite of winter, it feels almost indulgent. In the hall, food is served, not always lavish, but symbolically rich. Boiled meat stews thick with barley and root vegetables, flatbread still warm from the hearthstone, bowls of butter and clotted cream, occasionally something rare, a smoked goose or a roasted lamb. Of course, the mead, golden fermented honey water, ladled from wooden casks and passed from hand to hand in finely carved drinking horns. To drink here is not just to quench thirst, it is to participate in ritual. Here a toast is made not casually, but with intent. A toast to the gods, a toast to ancestors, a toast to the memory of a friend lost in distant storms. You raise your horn as all do, it is expected, eyes are watching. These feasts are more than indulgence, they are performance. A demonstration of generosity and in turn of power. At the far end of the hall, beneath a carved gable where the firelight makes runes flicker, sits the chieftain. His presence is both regal and restrained. He speaks little. He does not need to. Through gift-giving, alliances are forged. A brooch here, a sword there, not as payment, but as honor. In the Norse world, the powerful were expected to give to circulate wealth, not hoard it. Reputation was a currency, hospitality a responsibility. Skalds, poets, stand to recite. Their verses drift through the air like embers, tales of great battles, of trickster gods, of long voyages. Their words do not shout, they weave calmly, repetitively. Names and deeds turning like the tide. You feel the rhythm of it, the comfort of structure, the slow unfolding of story. Round you children doze in the crooks of fur-draped benches. Elders nod content in the half-dark. Dogs stretch by the fire. The night deepens, but the hall remains steady. Safe, predictable. This is not the chaos of the battlefield, or the frozen silence of the winter camp. It is a different kind of survival, through connection, through tradition and presence. Outside, the wind howls against the turf walls. But inside, the world holds its breath. Now let's go back to the present. Let's think about what we experienced in that short exercise. Did you feel any emotions? How did your body respond? Perhaps you felt a sense of community, of belonging, maybe even a feeling of safety. What do these emotions have to do with the space that you inhabit? In Scandinavia, the longhouse is a prehistoric architectural prototype that endured through the Viking Age and beyond. The basic form is simple, a rectangular structure with one or more long, low rooms. As the prototype evolved, the Great Hall became a multi-purpose space. It could serve as a place for everything from legal proceedings to religious rituals, theater performances, and feasts. When the Viking went to war, the longhouse was defended, and provisions were stored in the structure's many nooks and crannies. In short, the longhouse was the heart of political, economic, social, and cultural life. Think about the power of this type of space. Imagine being able to gather everyone in one place to control who comes and goes. Imagine the possibilities for performances, rituals, and exchange. It is no accident that the first space we enter in our imaginary time travel is a chieftain-s hall. Power always seeks to build the greatest hall, the greatest house, the greatest monument to itself. Today, we are fortunate to be able to experience a reconstructed Viking longhouse at an outdoor museum in Denmark. We can walk among the great timbers and imagine what it must have been like to be part of a Viking community. So if you ever find yourself in Denmark, go visit. And when you do, take a moment to sit in the great hall and imagine what it must have been like all those years ago. Breathe deeply, relax into the space. Remember, you are experiencing the largest building in the community, a place of politics, religion, culture, and daily life. Close your eyes if you wish, and imagine what it would have been like to be a member of this community. You are part of a group, part of a family, part of a society. There is work to be done, but for now, it is feast time. Food is plentiful. Mead flows like water. The air is thick with smoke and the scent of roasting meat. Your stomach is full. Your horn is raised in salute. Laughter echoes around you. There is warmth at the hearth and light in the rafters. For a moment, all is right with the world. And now, the fire dims. The hall quiets. Across the ages, the Norse world slowly faded. Longhouses collapsed. Mounds over burial ships settled. Names once spoken in skaldic verse were lost to time and silence. But the rhythms of their lives, the way they endured winter, voyaged with little more than stars, buried their dead with reverence, and celebrated life with rituals still echo. In soil, in story, in ship-shaped shadows beneath the moss, through frostbitten nights, quiet seas, sacred earth, and glowing halls, you've felt their endurance, their reverence, their quiet strength. Now you are safe in your own space, warm, still, and surrounded by modern comfort. Let the weight of the past rest behind you. Let the quiet settle around you. Breathe gently, rest deeply, and allow sleep to come like a soft wind across a still fjord. Good night.